So when we're talking about custody and what the judges consider, we really, again, have to break that down into what are we talking about here? Are we talking about decision making or are we talking about parenting time? So once you've identified what the issue is, let's say that you were denied any decision making. This happens, quite frankly, because you and your spouse cannot get on the same page. In the situation like this, what I always recommend is you work on you. You can't focus on them, focus on you. And in those situations, what can you do to get better? Can you go to therapy yourself? Can you work on bettering yourself to better understand your communication skills? But even still, even if the other parent is given exclusive decision making, you want to make sure that you get notified of these items before they happen. In other words, you may not have influence on that decision, but at least if you get notification and you strongly disagree, you would still have that opportunity to file a motion with the court, get in front of a judge, and ultimately try to tell the judge, hey, this is a really bad decision they're trying to make and you need to stop it. That is the best thing that you can do if you've been denied any parenting decision. Now, let's talk about parenting time. If you've been denied parenting time or you don't think that you get enough, again, reflect upon yourself. What is your schedule? Can you change your schedule? I've seen people with terrible work schedules that want more parenting time, but they ultimately get it denied. And I tell them, I understand that this is a terrible situation. You've had this career or this job for all these years, and now it's being taken from you. Or so that's how it feels. The reality is you no longer have that spouse that can help you while you're at your job. So you now have to make that choice. Do you want to change your job, have more parenting time, or can you accept what the situation is? I'm not saying that there's an easy answer for it, but it's in your control. If you want more parenting time and your hours are the thing in front of you, switch your hours. But if it's something different, you have to address what is the ultimate cause and issue. And if you understand what that cause and issue is, then you can create a plan to change that. Let's talk about an appeal. Now, an appeal is a legal term that basically means that you're saying we need a higher court to take a look at this situation. Now, it's very rare for a higher court to overturn a judge's decision, but it can be done under some circumstances. So if you are considering an appeal, it's really, really important that you act quickly, because once that decision is made, the first thing you need to do is you need to file a motion to reconsider within 30 days of that decision. And basically what you have to do is you have to try and say, hey, judge, this is why I think you were wrong for these reasons. After you do that, you can now file a notice of appeal, which basically means you're going to take this up to the Illinois Appellate Court, and you're ultimately going to try and convince a panel of three or more judges as to why this judge got it wrong, and ultimately hope they'll overturn it. Now, I'll tell you, it's very rarely done, but it is possible. So it's really, really important that you're speaking with your lawyer and that your lawyer either knows how to do an appeal themselves, or that they have somebody they can work with hand in hand to put together that appellate case for you, because it's a very, very complex process, requires a lot of paperwork, a lot of planning and filing, so you got to get on it quickly. So I was recently asked about domestic violence and how that impacts parenting decisions, custody, and ultimately a divorce. And it has a significant impact in a case. Domestic violence is something that needs to be taken seriously, and it is really evaluated on a case-by-case basis. So anytime there's domestic violence, it's a big term that can be thrown out there, and it's important to understand what happened, okay? So when it comes to domestic violence, was it between the parents? Was it between somebody else that lived in the house? One of the biggest factors that people look at here is, were the children present, right? Because sometimes parents, they fight. It's ugly and it's not okay. But let's just say that the fight took place when the kids were at grandma's house and no one else was around. That is significantly different than a fight taking place with the children 5 feet away. It's really, really important that you have someone that understands your unique facts and what happened, because we have to figure out a plan of action to go forward. If you were the person that committed the domestic violence, the last thing you want to do is now try and mitigate it and blame somebody else. Own what you did or didn't do in the situation and try and work on it so that you can get better and ultimately show the court that you're remorseful and that you want to move forward. Because let's face it, we like a second chance story. We like a redemption story. If somebody can work on themselves after making a terrible mistake, that can often have a big impact in the future. So what is sole custody? Well, again, we don't necessarily say custody, but really what it breaks down to is when most people think of sole custody in Illinois, we're talking about the majority of parenting time and they make all the decisions. So if you were granted sole custody, that means you make all the decisions for education, religion, healthcare, and extracurricular activities, and then you have the majority of parenting time. It doesn't mean that the other parent gets no parenting time. It doesn't mean that they get some parenting time or anything. Parenting time is really separate from decision making. So when we think custody, it should be about decision making. So when you're thinking about this and should you go for sole or joint or whatever, break each one of those things down. Do you have major disputes when it comes to religion? If not, don't fight over this. Make it a joint decision and move forward. But go through each one of those things and focus on where are those major issues. So for example, if education is really, really important to you and you and the other side are just diametrically opposed on those issues, focus on that and say, I want sole decision making for these reasons. You need to make sure your arguments make sense so ultimately you can present them to the judge and he or she can make the decision in that situation. All right, so when you're going through custody, it's important that you have a legal team in your corner that understands what you want. At Reidy Law Office, we have comprehensive systems in place so that we go through with you where we identify what are your goals and why, and then we create a plan of action to help you achieve those goals. We'd be honored to help you.